I have some new additions to my sewing room bookshelf to share with you. I've got Scarf Style and Wrap Style, both from Interweave Publications. I'm Michelle, this is my Romantic Tangle, and let's talk about some knitting books from 2004 and 2005 that I just found at the thrift shop. So I remember both of these books when they first came out. I checked them out from the local library, and there were some things in them I really wanted to knit. And back then, I had a tendency not to purchase books if they were available at the library because I thought when I'm ready to knit it, I can go get it then. Our local library has, as of when I'm filming this, which is mid-March 2021, been closed for a year. They shut down due to COVID. They opened to limited curbside service, which means there is, I think, maybe 50 appointments a week serving a town of 150,000 people in the surrounding areas. So getting books from the library right now is just not an option. And since the library is doing their seismic retrofitting, they have gotten rid of so many of their Fibercrafts books. So I am feeling more motivated these days to build my own collection, especially when I can do it with thrift store books for less than $1. So let's start with Scarf Style. If I have a complaint about this book, it is the photography. And the first picture shows that. You have a great picture of the model, a great picture of her background, and then they blur the details of the knit piece that is the whole point of the thing. I don't understand this. This one is bright stripes. It is made with long garter stitch stripes, so it is a cast on of 260 stitches and then worked lengthwise. This one is Forbes Forest, and this is probably one of the worst culprits as far as that blurring the detail. You have to go several pages in to see the lace work that is the whole point of the scarf. This one is Fair Isle Jazz. Again, it is, this one's disappointing. Look at the picture. It has got some fantastic color work and cables that you can't see in the picture. And that is one of my pet peeves with knitting books, is when they show you a project, especially a scarf or a shawl, and you can't even tell what shape it is. This one is Braided Mischief. It has some great texture. And in this day and age, you can go on Ravelry or you can go to knitting blogs and you can find someone else who has made the project, but it seems like you shouldn't have to work that hard. This one is Campus Scarf. Again, we've got a mix of stripes and texture. I love that these books have such a variety of techniques that really, this is NA Scarf. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is one of the ones that back when I first fell in love with this book went on my to-do list in my Ravelry queue, and I haven't done it yet, but that's okay. Zigzag Scarf. It's got kind of a retro feel to it. The name of this pattern is Nasty Dog Dragon Scarf. That is some fun color work. Interlocking Balloons, which is another narrow scarf with some fancy stitch work there. Okay, this one is Stitches and Baubles. I have read the pattern, I have looked at the pictures, and I think you are knitting narrow strips and joining them together to make the scarf, but the directions are not easy to understand if you're just looking at them quickly. This one is called Rosebud Scarf, and it is not one that caught my eye back when I first had my hands on this book, but I am liking it now. I can see stitching that if I ever do some color work. This one is called Misty Garden. I think that is a feather and fan sort of stitch. And the Lady Eleanor Entrelac stole. That could be gorgeous with the right yarn. This one is called Color on Color, and there are a few here that have like diagrams, and I don't know how many pages of instructions there are for this scarf. It's like 10 pages of detailed instructions with diagrams, and I wish that more of the patterns in this book came a little bit closer to that. This one is Turkish Treasure, and I love that combination of color and texture. I think I skipped something here. Oh, Shippo Tail Scarves is that one. Sometimes they put the name and the introduction on the page before there's a decent picture. This one is called Vintage Velvet. I think that's a chenille yarn. This one is Backyard Leaves. I think that was originally on my list of projects I wanted to make from this book. And this one is a turtleneck shrug. So it's a collar and sleeves. Like I said, there's a lot of variety in this book, which I think is one of its strong points. Wear as a collar scarf. This one is called Garter Stitch Wrap, and again, I think the artistic blur of the photography makes it hard to see the knitting. I want to see the knitting. Ooh, and this one, this is Midwest Moonlight. I wanted so bad to knit this when I didn't know how to do this sort of knitting. This is not hard knitting. I just was a very, very beginning knitter, and I have the yarn for this. I think I saw it in my stash recently, and I think now that I own the book, I am gonna print it out and knit it. This one is, what is it called? Blue Collar. It's a little capelet. This one is called Ruffles, and I did stitch Ruffles. I checked my blog, and I did it back in 2005, so not long after finding the book. It's this spirally concoction of short rows that was really fun at the time. Retro. This one is a crochet pattern. There is a mix of crochet and knitting here, but it's way heavier on the knitting. And this one is ruffled capelet with sleeves. And those flowers are a knitted embellishment. Not So Plain Geometric Scarf. I think, yeah, this is another one that has lots of pages of instructions and lets you know what you're actually doing. The Floral Trellis Scarf, that is crochet, but someday when I learn to crochet. This one is called Beads of Earth. It's a knitted ruffle. And then in the back of the book, they have a design notebook, which gives you some inspiration for designing your own scarf. And it talks about choosing your yarn and choosing your size and stitch patterns and swatching. And it'll give you some inspiration and idea where to begin designing your own scarf. But I wouldn't call it like a scarf designing course. So this of the two is my favorite book. It has 31 projects, and there are things in here I want to knit. Wrap Style, which based on the title I would have thought was going to be my favorite, only has 24 projects and not as many that I love. This is Asymmetry by Joe Sharp. There are a lot of big name designers in these books. Wrap on Stripes. Spiral Shell. And a lot of these, I think if you liked the inspiration behind it, but not the particular shape, you could do some alterations. This one is called Moon Beads. Green Sleeves. I would never be able to figure out how to put that thing on. It's complicated. It does have some diagrams showing how to assemble it and all that. Czarina Wrap. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. It's crochet. It's beautiful. I would butcher the name. Chanson en crochet, maybe? Shetland Triangle, which is another one that I had on my list to knit and haven't yet, because there is not a lace triangular top-down shawl that I do not love. This is the Grand Plan top-down capelet, and it has a lot of options, I guess. Oh, there's a cabled turtleneck option. These are all options of that pattern. So that one gives you a lot of different ways to make it. Nordic Lights. Wandering Aran Fields. I love the cables on that one and the color. Off-Center Argyle. Tapestry Garden. I love the colors and the color work, and that is just beautiful. I'm not sure. Oh, they are sewing a purchased fur collar onto that. This one is called a Shoulder Cozy. And Cashmere Crossings. It is knit with, I believe, yep, it is knit with worsted weight yarn. And I have a bunch of worsted weight in my stash that is not cashmere. But I think I would love to knit that. That would be very ambitious. Viva La Pancha. But sometimes I have a lot of aspirational knitting books on my shelf with things that I would like to knit, and I may or may not ever do it. This one is called Wrapped in Tradition. That looks like it's lace weight. And maybe a mohair. Fluted Ribs. Twisty Turns. Guinevere. Shadow Dance. Enchante. I think that one does have sleeves. Yes, it has what they're calling sleevettes. Tailored Froth. Victorian Velvet. I'm guessing from the look that that is a chenille. Doesn't... I like that this book has, at the beginning of each pattern, it talks about kind of the inspiration of that particular pattern. And then this one also has a design notebook, which gets into shawl shape, or wrap shaping, let's call it that, and different types of wraps. So I like the patterns in this one. I like the design notebook better in this one. And together there are so many options to knit in these. I love that. I love that they are different. Although if you have a lot of books of shawls and a lot of books of scarves and wraps, you may have enough. These, I love the variety, and they are not just run-of-the-mill rectangular, let the yarn do the work shawls. Like I said, the photography doesn't make my heart sing. I don't understand why they would blur the details of a pattern that depends on stitch detail. This is wrap style and scarf style. I believe they are still both in print. I will put links down in the description box below. Let me know if you have these too, if you've made any of these projects. Let me know what your favorite scarf and shawl and wrap knitting books are, because maybe you got something I haven't seen before. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my Romantic Tangle, and I'll be back with you again soon.